I said, hey, yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Mo Hados, and we back for another video. Today, we're going to be going over the Sandbox, right? And if you guys are not already familiar with what the Sandbox is, then do not worry. We're going to go over that today. And if you are familiar, we're going to go over some things maybe you've missed, and I'm going to puzzle for you together, guys. So, essentially, the Sandbox is a game, and they have been partnered with Atari as well. Atari is essentially a pioneer in the gaming space as well. For anybody who's over the age of like 30 or 25, even, you guys know Atari got some deep roots in the gaming world. So, this is basically like bringing blockchain into gaming. And so again, we're gonna touch base on how blockchain will impact gaming and how I think the Sandbox is doing it right. So yeah, we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about what the Sandbox is, some background, how they raise their money, some partnerships, tokenomics, governance, and also we're gonna cover some assets in the ecosystem of the Sandbox game and technical analysis. So again, this is gonna be very, very, very useful for you guys if you guys are again not aware of what the Sandbox is, and if you are aware, we're gonna cover some stuff maybe you've missed. So jumping right in, what is the Sandbox? Sandbox is a gaming ecosystem in the metaverse where users can share, create, and monetize their gaming experience on the blockchain. And it's a game where allows players to buy digital plots of land, customize them to their liking, and create experiences with other players. Sandbox is a playable on platforms like Mac, PC, mobile, and basically any device, right? And you guys are already aware that they incorporate NFTs, right? So that's the thing about the Sandbox, is that it brings in NFT ownership, and NFT ownership changes how the game works. And what do I mean by that? Is that right now, if you play a game, right? Let's just say that you play Fortnite, for example. A lot of times when you buy a skin, you're not able to trade that skin. You cannot trade it on the marketplace. You cannot go and exchange it with somebody else, right? Imagine if you can buy a skin, right, and then you can earn money on that skin, and then maybe buy another skin. It makes the game more dynamic in a sense. So adding again NFTs to a blockchain game like the Sandbox, for buying again like land or skins or something like that, you can definitely make the game more intricate, right? And a little bit about the background, it's TSB Gaming Ltd. That's the legal entity name of the Sandbox, and that's what it stands for. TSB is the Sandbox. It's a project based out of San Francisco. It's founded by Arthur Madrid and Sebastian Borget. These guys have heavy experience in the gaming sector, and they used to work for Pixel for a decade each, guys. So you don't have any Joe Schmoes just jumping in here, just creating a game and thinking everything is going to be sweet. No, you have two guys that worked in a gaming company for a decade, and they worked for Pixel. If you guys are not aware of Pixel, Pixel is pretty well known. And now they're basically breaking into blockchain gaming because they see how NFTs and digital ownership may add a layer of intricacy to make the game more dynamic. And they're also a part of other things. So if you go to Arthur's LinkedIn or Sebastian's LinkedIn, you'll see that they're a part of like Blockchain Game Alliance, and one of them are members of Animoco Brands. So again, Animoco is another gaming company. So these guys have experience in the gaming sector. They have experience in blockchain gaming as well. So they're all over the place. They have friends and in companies that are also again actively participating in blockchain gaming. So it's a great thing because then they have experience and they can consult with with their friends, right? And it's also important to remember that the Sandbox was known at one point in 2011 and 2016 for another game that they created for mobile called just the Sandbox, right? So literally they had mobile games at one point as well. So it just adds to the layer of creating successful games, being a part of big companies for decades, becoming high enough at those companies to essentially, continue to essentially innovate, and then going into blockchain gaming, right? And again, the game that they created had 40 million downloads across iOS and Android on mobile, which again is a great success, right? And of course, like I said, they are now going into blockchain gaming, which is most recently started happening in 2018. And if we look closer at their funding, we can see that the Sandbox was involved in both seed and ICOs. So basically, an ICO is like raising money for coins, and then seed is like the actual company itself, maybe equity per se. And this is all from Crunchbase. So you have people like Coinbase Ventures, Binance Labs, Verify Capital, Winklevoss Capital Management, SoftBank, and a few others, right? So yeah, you can definitely, I'm gonna put the link to this article in the bio, so you can click it if you guys want to learn more about this stuff, if you decide to click it. But again, the Sandbox held an ICO for 12% of the supply, raising $3 million. So it wasn't a super big ICO, guys. They just only raised $3 million. It definitely is still something, but not as big as what we see in the space, or what we're used to seeing. And then the Sandbox has been working on multiple brands to continue building out the Sandbox experience. Most recently, the Sandbox has partnered with Playboy and Tony Hawk to add more experiences that are not included in the list. And basically, so we're gonna go right here and look at who they have partnered with. They have The Walking Dead, Smurfs is pretty popular. Standard Charter, House Kitchen. So there might be some other ones that you guys might realize that I don't. But again, these are the investors here on the bottom. And these are all great investors. You guys are already aware some of these guys are, titans in the space as well. But I also wanted to highlight this Playboy and Tony Hawk partnership that they had recently, because the Sandbox works in seasons. So I don't know if any of you guys play video games right now, but every single season they essentially launch new content. And they're also on a season 3 right now. So if you go to the Sandbox website and you go to their webpage, you'll see here that they're on, there you go. They're on season 3, which is, again, really cool. And they're constantly innovating, which is a great thing. And another thing that most people might underlook is Playboy, right? So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Playboy is like an older company. Who cares about Playboy, right? But the reality is that, I don't know if you guys saw the trailer. If you guys go look at the trailer for the Playboy partnership, it's actually pretty funny. But unfortunately, the porn industry is very male dominated, right? And a lot of the money does come from men. So seeing something like this in the metaverse, like Playboy, like hopping in, is probably going to drive more user base for reasons that I don't want to get into detail. But it's interesting that the Sandbox decided to partner with Playboy for that, right? And so this just is like, I know that some might disagree and say this is kind of a weird partnership, but they're driving user base up. They're bringing more utility to the game, and they're adding some layers to this game, right? Whether people like it or not, they are adding other things like Tony Hawk as well, to make it different. But they're not afraid to push the boundaries, right? So this is like a interesting combination, Playboy and Tony Hawk, but they're doing it, and they're being consistent, and they're doing a pretty good job, keeping up with different seasons, right? So that's nice to see. And then moving on to token information, Sand is the token for the Sandbox. It's an ERC20 token, and it's mostly used to interoperate with the Sandbox network. The total supply is 3 billion for all of Sand, and the current circulating supply is about 1.25 billion. And then over here, I kind of talk about how the money is essentially going to distribute, right? Some of it gets sold during the seed funding. The rest of it gets used. 4% of it gets used for strategic buys. Launchpad is 12%. The foundation has 12% to build up the network, and the company reserve is 25%. Advisors and founder team, and these guys get 29%. And then some early investors have a 100% lockup period for 5 years. It looks like there's a vesting period as well, but it's interesting here. I did share it. This is probably the most important thing you guys want to look at, right? This right here, because if you're gonna buy tokens, I highly encourage you to pay attention to when token releases happen. There's unlocks, right? So most likely you want to dump your tokens before the unlock, because if it dumps while you're holding, it's not going to be the best thing, because the dumps might be pretty big, right? The next big sell-off will take place in July, which we did experience. A lot of tokens did flood the market. So if you were holding sand, then you were, essentially going to be aware of that. But again, it's something to consider. And the next time is going to be March 2023, November 2023, and July 2024. And then by then, all the tokens will be released. So this is a nice chart if you're going to consider buying. Try to buy after these periods and sell before one of these periods, because most of the time unlocks are not really a bullish thing. They usually flood the market with more supply. So yeah, but of course not financial advice, because just in case the event where maybe there's some crazy momentum to the upside, maybe we can argue that, hey, it might go up. But just if you're not aware, this is definitely a great thing to go by. Moving on to staking and governance. Sand is a native token for the Sandbox network. Again, as I mentioned, currently Sand is used for acquiring in-game assets. A lot of tokens don't have use cases, right? But Sand is heavily utilized amongst the game, right? Which makes sense, right? And you can use it for uploading assets to the marketplace. I'm sure it's like a fee to sell. Governance, so you can vote and veto on certain protocols or proposals. Utilized for paying transactions fees, liquidity mining, and for staking purposes. The Sand has a multi-purpose use cases mainly derived from the game. In February, the Sandbox team uploaded a video on how to stake Sand, which again you can click here. Link will be in the bio if you want to learn more about it. At the time of their upload, you could have earned 26 to 47% APR for staking, which is not light. That's a big percentage of staking, guys. The percentages may fluctuate with time as more people participate. So obviously, of course, as more and more people stake, the rewards do get slashed. Sand token holders will be able to vote over the rights of the treasury and new proposal amendments, as I mentioned before. Gaming with the use of governance might shift gaming sector to new and imagined possibilities. So guys, again, I mentioned that they use NFTs to change the game, but imagine every time you sold something and you have like tokens, you can kind of vote on what the game is going to do next, right? Like, again, I'm going to give you an example of Fortnite, right? When they do something to the map or they update something in a new season, imagine you were able to vote what that new thing was. That's pretty cool, right? And that's why I think that these tokens and these games are headed in a direction that can essentially change and essentially bring in a new type of gaming with governance, right? And that's something that has not been seen just fully yet. And I think once it's fully realized, it's going to make things really interesting, right? So yeah, moving on, talking about the ecosystem of the Sandbox and different assets, right? So there are a few different assets that are used in game. These assets are part of the ecosystem, and they involve sand, land, asset, games, gems, and catalysts, right? And so each asset in game will vary as they all have unique properties. Due to the complexity, we'll brush over each asset to help one achieve an easy understanding. So again, Sand is the main token that is used in the game for utilities. Again, I just mentioned earlier, you can use it for paying fees, governance, staking, and so on and so forth. Land is used in the world to, do different things, right? You can, again, customize your own land and then, have certain experiences around them, right? You could build your own house on the land, I'm assuming, right? And then assets are models that one may create and trade with other users, And these are things that I believe that are scripted. You can definitely, do certain things to create certain assets in the game. And then you can put them in certain places. I'm assuming this could be like things that you can place on land, right? And then the last one that I have, the last two are gems, which are scripted assets to power up existing assets. So maybe like gem is a part of the assets catalyst. Gems are a part of the asset type of ecosystem, because it, for an example, let's just say an asset is like a sink, and then a gem could be something to make the sink better or level it up in a sense, right? And then catalysts are not shown in the graphic below, but are a unique tool that allows one to burn into assets. So, again, it's something that can power up in a sense, but they all essentially, every single thing I just mentioned, the sand, the land, and asset games, all these things are all big contributors to how the game is played, right? So there are some people that just play Sandbox to buy land and flip land, right? Some people don't even play the game, but they're using the Sandbox to essentially make money off, properties, right? And then maybe there's certain assets, right? There's gonna be assets that are minted. Maybe they're rare, like 1 of 1 assets or 1 of 5 assets. And again, the token again is the main thing that's used across the game. I'm sure you cannot even play the game without these tokens, so it does bring up that demand. And like I said, there's gonna be a lot of different games that are going to essentially join in through this game, right? And you guys are already seeing the update every season, different things. We saw Playboy and Tony Hawk this time, so we're definitely going to see what happens next. And moving on to the final part is the technical analysis part. Sand had an amazing run, right? It went from, guys, like a fraction. It wasn't even a penny. It was like an eighth of a penny, and then it went all the way up to $8.80, guys. 1,000% returns. Ever since Sand hit all-time highs, we have seen a price fall towards the demand zone. But I wrote here, guys, that side note, the price may have a run because it is forming a bullish neutral triangle, and the price at the time was 115 when I said this. And we saw a run from that low there, which, guys, on the money, guys. You guys want to be following me on Twitter and, stay tuned because, look, 27% called. If you were just even following me on Twitter, I did share this chart as well. And if you guys were, again, following me on my, website, you guys will be seeing that I shared this earlier, right? This was when was it published? July 14th. So, yeah, nice run off that low. Take profits if you wish, not financial advice. Going on to the last section, I think it's pretty clear that Sandbox is definitely doing an amazing job, right? And I just want to share that, Sandbox is like a direct competitor to Roblox, and in some ways I think it's kind of hitting on the head with Minecraft. We also saw recently that Minecraft was banning NFTs, which is not what you want to see in a game that is supposed to grow, right? Like Minecraft banning NFTs is like, like back in the day when governments were like saying that like this is like the internet is essentially fraud and telephones are fake, and like I don't know, like just imagine like back in the day how they just doubted everything. They don't believe in innovation. But this is a common theme, guys. Like for those who are sticking around or are a little bit older, I can definitely say I'm getting to the age now where I'm starting to see common behavior where people just don't want to adapt, right? And NFTs will change gaming, whether you like it or not. Governance is also going to change gaming as well. Imagine just voting, just the power of voting, how powerful that would be to a game, right? And to a map. And that's just absolutely crucial. And, I do think that, again, over a period of time, it will continue to grow the Sandbox network, but that doesn't mean Sand token is going to go up with it. I am not giving you financial advice on whether to buy Sand or not. Personally, I have held Sand, and I actually most recently flipped some into some profits, which was great. I did share that again on my Twitter. So link to my Twitter is in the bio as well if you guys want to follow. But I do, again, think that in the 4 years that Sandbox has existed, they have done a lot of damage in the space. I think they will continue to keep innovating. I think they are on the right path, and we'll just keep watching, guys. We want to root for companies like the Sandbox because, again, they are doing things differently. They are, again, pushing the boundaries, and I think that we are headed in the right space for gaming. I'm definitely interested to see how this all plays out. But let me know what you guys think about the Sandbox. Leave a comment below. And if you made it this far, please like and sub. It really helps the algorithm. And as always, haru haru haru. Peace.